Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.
This is Colin McGuigan for IFL TV. Delighted to be joined by Eduardo Hernandez in Las Vegas, Nevada. Eddie, what have you done with that beard?
What do you mean, what have I done with it? I only shaved it off.
You just look so different.
Yeah, but I was in the spa, and it's quite funny actually. And I was in the steam, and I was like, what's really annoying me? I was thinking, I'm just going to shave it off. So I went into the little sort of toilet bit, the shower bit, and they had razors, you know, like disposable razors. So I thought, what a result. And I haven't had a clean shave, like with proper shaving foam for years. So I was like, got all the shaving foam on, took out one of these disposable razors, and I was like, and it just wouldn't, it was pathetic. So I'd have to keep putting it under, trying again. Anyway, I hacked away at it. I'd like strip down here, one down here, and that was it. Nothing else would come off. So I cleaned it all up. And then I walked through to find a barber's in Cosmo. And that was fully booked at the time. Like, people were looking at me, I had patches everywhere. And then I had to go and get a proper little Gillette and shaved it off. Auntie Dawn's been on. Yeah.
What did Auntie Dawn have to say about it?
Dawn goes, where is it? Just got actually. Seen you on YouTube, clean shaven. You now look about 30 years old. Good boy.
Oh, Auntie Dawn, shout out Dawn, yeah. as always, and we'll try and keep the swear words to a minimum.
Yeah.
Eddie, we're here for a massive fight week for Conor Benn. First of all, what do you make of Conor this week? He seems really riled up and ready for this.
Yeah. He's just violent. Like, even when I bumped into him, I haven't seen him for a couple of weeks. I'm like, all right, Con, yeah. It's like, what have I done something wrong? He's like, he's always ready to go, always ready to fight, and that's what makes him what he is. I mean, people talk about, obviously, he's Nigel Benn's son, but the similarities are frightening. I mean, especially when you talk about fighting over in Vegas. You know, he had his night against Aaron Barkley, and for Conor to headline in Vegas unexpectedly and in strange circumstances and at a strange time, but also a big moment for a British fighter to do that. Every fighter dreams of fighting in Las Vegas, so this is a big opportunity for him. He's got to look good, in all honesty. You know, I like Dobson. You know, he's got big balls and he'll have a right go, but we can't expect Conor to struggle against him if he's talking about the people he's talking about. So I think it will be fireworks, and I think he'll knock him out inside 5 rounds.
I spoke to Dobson today, and I put it to him, a long layoff since 2022, and he hit back at me straight away and said he fought 4 weeks ago, an unlicensed bout in Russia where he was robbed of a decision. What do you make of that?
Didn't even know about that, in all honesty. I mean, I know he's been looking to fight. Well, I think when he says unlicensed, I think that's probably due to licensing issues in Russia, but he probably wanted a warm-up fight, in all honesty. Like, he was supposed to fight Kevin Ajarko. Kevin pulled out with his hand injury. Supposed to fight Pat McCormack, headline. Pat McCormack pulled out. So the inactivity is really not his fault. So I think that he is what he is. He's undefeated. He's game, but limited at world level, in all honesty. What was he, 16-0? Something like that? He's tough, but Conor's got to slice through him like a knife through butter if he's going to be making a statement out here, and I believe he'll do it.
How important is it for you as the promoter of Johnny Fisher, George Liddart, Jimmy Sains, that these guys get a massive night in their lives fighting in Vegas?
You know, when we did our global deal with DAZN and we made our move, one of the things that I felt was important was to be able to give our stable, give our roster of fighters opportunities to fight internationally. Like, I just saw Jimmy Sains' dad downstairs here at the MGM, and I've known Jimmy Sains' dad, Chrissy Sains, since I was, I don't know, 16, 17, something like that. And it's funny now because we're both like old and slightly receding and a bit tubby. And he just said, I can't believe that, me and my wife are here watching my son fight in Vegas. And it's special to give fighters those kind of opportunities. Good luck, good timing. Because Conor Benn was fighting, Jimmy and George were due to fight. They got on. Johnny Fisher, he's got a few hundred coming from Essex. Those opportunities for experience, but also for development, are absolutely priceless. And they're opportunities that only we can provide in the boxing world. No other promoter does shows internationally. You can ask for a favour, but it's just not the same. When you look at the fighters that have had the opportunity to fight internationally, under Matchroom's expansion. I mean, there are some. I mean, you look at the likes of Kieran Conway, he's fought on a Canelo card. Liam Smith boxed at MSG. Katie Taylor boxed at MSG against Amanda Serrano. Obviously, AJ, he's got the value to do that anyway. But Pete Callum Smith boxed on that undercard. It goes on and on and on. Joshua Buatsi boxed on that undercard. Peter McGraw, Joe McGraw, just boxed internationally. Janae Boston, what an opportunity for him. Like, there are so many. Galal Yafai, Olympic gold medalist. Like, I could name 20 or 30 that have made the trip and boxed here. And it's just something that other people can't offer. So for their development, incredible.
In terms of, you talk about international opportunities, you reference Kieran Conway, the prize fighter's been announced. Just how excited are you to do this?
Really, it's gone down really well. I mean, we did a big deal in Japan with Rakuten, and they wanted a major fight night. We talked about doing world championship fights, but they just wanted something different. Something that the public and the viewing audience could understand, something that we could build in terms of social interaction, build the narrative of each individual. And we wanted prize fighter, and at first we said prize fighter, it's 3-3-minute rounds. And then we just felt that, like, boxing's come on, boxing's expanded. Why not make that a championship contest? And then we started talking about the money. I mean, you win $1 million if you win the tournament.
Just to clarify, sorry, just on that, because I've seen some reports online that it was billed as like a winner takes all, and some people were worried.
No, it's not. I don't mind actually releasing the full prize pot. I think we'll get Matchroom to put that out. $75,000 if you lose in the first fight. Up to you double your money, you keep going. I think $600,000 for losing in a semi, and $1 million winner, not winner takes all, just for the winner. Plus $100,000 knockout bonus every fight. Right? This is a lot of money. And the reason that we wanted to put those hungry guys in, mostly unbeaten guys, like, do you realise what they'll do for $1 million? And the trenches they will go through to win it. And the draw's fascinating as well. You've got the two Japanese fighters fighting each other. You've got Mark Dickinson against the French fighter. It's a brilliant fight. Very tough fight for Mark. But if he comes through, he fights the Japanese fighter in a bracket. You'd expect him or the winner of that to make the final. Steve McKenna against Giovanni Estella. It's like 18-0 against 17-0. Brilliant, brilliant fight. And then you got Kieran Conway against a Chinese fighter as well. Like, it's going to be brilliant. And I really like the concept. It's gone down really well.
Some people will ask, Aaron McKenna, for example, has fought on Boxer and Sky platform recently. Hennessy managed, but people were thinking that he was under the Boxer promotion. Is he a free agent then?
Yeah, I mean, we did a deal with Mick Hennessy. He doesn't have a contract with Sky. Good fighter, and if he wins this, he's going to come out a star. So we'll work with him after that. But for now, it's just the opportunity to be in prize fighter. If you win it, you're going to have 3 fights. So it's your 2024 taken care of. And if McKenna wins it, he wins $1 million. So good luck, plus a few knockout bonuses as well.
I know Coogan spoke to you about the Belfast show, but I do need to ask you a couple of questions. Crocker Donovan, something that Frank Smith spoke about straight away, but when I spoke to Billy Nelson, he kind of refuted it and said it's not for right now. He would welcome it, but he thinks down the line it would be better. What do you make of that?
Yeah, every trainer and advisor wants to milk it and marinate it and do what you got to do. And I've seen Lewis's comments this week about wanting to get compensated for it correctly. Absolutely. You have to. It's a 50-50 fight. You could definitely have 1 or 2 more fights before this end. And I think the likelihood is there might be another fight before it. But I want to see it. I want to fill the Odyssey up with that fight. It's a brilliant fight. And let's be honest, the way we're going to keep boxing great is to make fights like Crocker Donovan. We have an obligation to make it at the right time for both of them. I ain't interested in marinating something. I'm not interested in, let's wait till they both win world titles. What if they don't win world titles? Like, as long as the deal's right, as long as these guys are looked after, but we will make sure the timing is right. Now, is that next? Is that one in between? Probably one in between. But it's the breakout fight. It's the one that takes you. Both guys are promising young Irish fighters. Who's a superstar? That's the winner of that fight. And the loser of that fight can come again. They get built up, they have another fight, they're in another championship fight. But, I can't decide when a team or a fighter feels like it's the right time. If Billy Nelson doesn't want the Paddy Donovan fight, I can't get him in the fight. But let's be honest, what's a fight? You know, and I think one more, and then we make it happen.
What's the situation contractually with those two? Because they've never been officially announced as a Matchroom fighter. I'm just fighting the corner of the Irish fighters here.
They will do, and we have multi-fight agreements with both guys, and there'll be an official announcement, you know, with regards to that part of their future. Very invested in both guys, not just to fight each other, but you know, we've got hopefully Croke Park or somewhere in Dublin coming up, and we want to bring fights back to Belfast. Both guys can fight internationally, particularly on the East Coast. So, yeah, I mean, I wasn't there, but the atmosphere looked fantastic. And I enjoyed the fight. I think both guys have a big future.
Will we see more shows in Belfast?
Well, I mean, you've just seen 2 in 5 weeks. So the answer is yes. There will be at least 1 more show in Belfast this year. Hopefully 2. But again, that depends on, you know, we can only bring those big fights big nights to Belfast if we can make the big fights. So if Lewis Crocker don't want to fight Paddy Donovan, or you know, but by the way, Lewis Crocker doesn't have to just fight Paddy Donovan.
Conor Walker?
Conor Walker's like one of my little favourite pocket rockets at the moment. You know, goes over there, smashes someone up. He's painting and decorating on the Tuesday. What a fella! I like him. Want to give him more chances, you know, and he's proving that he's a real handful, not just a guy who just has a go. He can fight. So yeah, loads of guys. Like he's at 147 £, but Crocker's so exciting. He's star. He's going to be in some brilliant fights.
Just a quick one on Jose Felix. He's managed and promoted by Paco Damien, who, in my opinion, one of the most interesting characters in boxing. The guy knows everyone, knows everything. Always brings a fighter who's up for it. Do you believe that you'll maybe work going forward with Jose Felix?
I felt a little bit for Jose Felix because look, and I felt for Lewis Crocker as well. Don't forget, Lewis Crocker missed only the check weight. He was more than happy to make £147. But the board, and I don't mind this rule from the board sometimes, said, we're not happy with how your weight is. You cannot weigh less than £150. So from there, or we won't allow the fight to happen. So Lewis had no choice. But he still should have been a little bit lighter. I will also say, this fight, no excuses, the guys had like 4 weeks of prep for that fight night. Paddy as well, and I don't think Paddy was 100% going into that fight, but Jose Felix was undersized, and I want to give him another opportunity because he gave it everything, and he's so exciting. But 140 is definitely his weight. He was happy at 147, but he wasn't happy that Crocker was 150. But he also, Paco knew the situation; it was out of our hands, so he got compensated, and he would have preferred the fight in a lower weight class, and I'll definitely look to do something with Jose Felix again.
Let's talk about your week that you spent in Phoenix. Unfortunately, John Ryder came up short, but that time with Oscar De La Hoya, did you interact much off camera?
Not really, off camera. You know, I mean, I saw him, he didn't look too happy when I was speaking at the press conference, and, you know, he had a few things to say in the post-fight press conference when I wasn't there, but I hope that Oscar's intentions are pure in terms of working with everybody. We'll see. But he talked a good game. I enjoyed the show. It was a great show, great main event, great atmosphere, great crowd. I think like all these things, you know, we're reaching out, as he said it, we're smoking the peace pipe, and we're looking to work with everybody to make great fights. And you've seen the success of that with the Queensberry tie-up. I mean, the response to that 5v5 is bigger than any fight I've ever done, in all honesty. That's going to be a huge event. So and that can work with Top Rank, that can work with Golden Boy over here. So hopefully those guys will be forthcoming. We're not always going to get on. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he particularly likes me.
What did you make of his post-fight press conference comments? Because he kind of had a go at the Matchroom stable. Yeah. And what did you make of that?
We have, I don't know, 13 world champions. I think he has 2. Like, they've got some very good fighters, but we've got some tremendous fighters globally. But it's really competitive. You know, if you look at fighters that we both work with, I don't know, Ryan Garcia against Devin Haney, Ortiz against Madrimov or Conor Benn, Munguia against Belanga or Pacheco,
McCrory,
you know, if your boy comes through on February 24th. But even, you know, McCrory against Mosley Jr., you know, we got such a deep stable of fighters. Joe Caldina against one of the 135 pounders, 130 pounders, like Akhmadaliev against one of the super bantams. They've got guys down in the weight class that Sonny can fight and Bam can fight, and we've got guys.
Sonny Edwards against Ricardo Sandoval, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, we're favourite in all those fights, really, in most of those fights, but it's really competitive. We've got loads of guys at 140. We've got Liam Paro can fight Barboza. I've got Regis Prograis can fight Jose Ramirez, or even Dalton Smith coming through fighting one of those guys. Like, we got plenty of depth in our stable, and I'd fancy us to smash Golden Boy to pieces, to be honest.
When he made the comments about Devin Haney, what did you make of that? Are you working with Devin Haney?
We've got an option on Devin, for our last fight, and it doesn't mean that we will automatically be involved in his next fight, but we're working together as a team, and obviously it's a fight on the zone. So I don't know, I think Oscar, in Oscar's world, he would love us not to be involved in that fight. I don't really care. I want the opportunity for Devin, and if we're involved, we're involved. But contractually, we have a position. But it's just an odd comment.
In terms of Haney and Ryan Garcia, do you believe that fight can get made?
I do. I think it's the perfect fight for DAZN. I think it's the perfect fight for Devin. Is it the perfect fight for Ryan? We'll see. But, Ryan will have his opinion of his commercial value in that fight. And it's whether Devin will accept that or agree with it. But I think it's the fight to make.
In terms of Diego Pacheco, would you say that his career, he headlines and now he's going to be the co-main, it's kind of went back down a little bit in terms of the way he's being promoted?
We're just treading water with him a little bit to give him the experience. This kid is very young. I think he's the future of the super middleweight division. And what I don't just want to do all the time is just put pressure on him to headline in big fights. And he's okay to go co-main event sometimes, get that experience. It's a proper fight, by the way, undefeated opponent. It's not a gimme fight. But Pacheco wants the smoke. He wants Belanga. He wants Mbili. Fucking great fight. He wants Munguia. Great fight. But the problem is people will use the excuse of he's young, his profile's not that high. This is what people do. We always see it. So sooner or later, probably after this one, Diego's going to have to step up against a big name and prove his worth. If McCrory beats Belanga,
even if he loses that fight, is that not a great fight and a great marker?
Also, if it's a real close affair, but Diego's looking. Listen, I like Christian and Billy. I like Diego Pacheco against Christian and Billy. I think that's an unbelievable fight, and Diego's up for it. Diego wants all the smoke, and we've been with him since he was a young boy. 16, 17 years of age, and I'm really excited about his career.
There's a lot of people maybe saying at the moment that you're lacking in US headliners. Me and you spoke maybe, I'd say it was 6-7 weeks ago, and when we spoke you said that you were in conversations with numerous fighters, but you wouldn't really give me names. One we spoke about was Boots Ennis. What stage are those discussions at, and is there any discussions with other fighters?
Still talking. When we talk about US headliners, the last thing you want to do, which I've done before, is sign a fighter with an incorrect commercial value, stuck in a contract with, that you have to keep headlining with, that doesn't rate. We need to make fights, and we need to make sure they rate competitive fights. I like the liquidity and the fluidity of being able to, make different fights with different people at different times. So we will definitely add talent to the roster. It's got to be the right talent. It's not just it's a decent name. What's the point if they don't put bums on seats or don't deliver subscribers for DAZN? I'd rather use that money to be fluid and make great fights. So Boots is still a conversation that's open. Many other world champions as well. But got to be right for everyone involved.
The likes of Boots Ennis and Terence Crawford, for example, who are both apparently free agents at the moment. Is that two of the fighters that you believe you could throw a lot of money at and build around?
If I look at Terence Crawford, who I think is arguably pound for pound number one, what would I do with Terence Crawford? He wants an absolute fortune to fight, rightly so. But if I don't have the dance partner for Terence Crawford, I'm not in that business. Same with Shakur Stevenson. He's a free agent coming up. Do we sign Shakur Stevenson? Who knows? but you've got to have the right fights for them. You know, Devin came back to us because we had Regis Prograis. You know, Boots might sign with us if we have options for him at 147. But you've got to have those options, and you've got to be able to make those big fights. Otherwise, you sit in a contract where you're paying a guy fortunes for fights that aren't going to deliver. It's a terrible business. So we've got to be smart.
We've got a lot of time this week, so I'll round it off with this. The Matchroom in Queensberry 5v5. Give us a bit of an idea of the early discussions that you and Frank have had about this, and is it really, does he have a say in who you're picking as well, and do you have a say in who he's picking?
Yeah, I mean, we've got to agree to the fights, but so has His Excellency, and His Excellency will only want great fights and competitive fights. And we don't want to be in a fight where we're not competitive, and vice versa. You know, they could turn around and say, "What about this fight?" And I think, blimey, we're like a 10-1 outsider in that fight. Come on. And that's how the negotiations go. But they will pick 2 weight classes, we will pick 2 weight classes, and His Excellency will pick another weight class. And we got to put our best guys in from that weight. Once a weight class is called on, you can't say, "Oh, we haven't got anyone that's good enough." You got to put your man up.
Has there been any called yet?
We've talked about loads of fights. We haven't given each other the weight classes yet, but we've talked about various fights that can be made. And by the way, I joked yesterday about the transfer window. You can still add to the stable. Do you know what I mean? So
Would it be great to have this discussion live on DAZN?
possibly
That platform.
that'll be down. You know, I'm sure His Excellency will come up with something. I mean, have you seen the Usyk Fury promo today? You know, this is going to be a massive event. Like I said, I've not seen as much interaction around a fight or a fight night for a long time. So Joshua and Ngannou Fight Week all will be revealed for the lineup, for the weight classes and everything.
Give us one fighter from your stable that you believe is definitely going to be on this. Obviously, weight class dependent.
I can't tell you definitely. I mean, honestly, we've talked about, you know, there are 12, 15 fights we could make. You know, I mean, from Yard against Callum Smith or Yard against Richards to, I don't know, Hamza Shiraz against Felix Cash or Zach Parker against Pacheco or Palanga and Nick Ball against Josh Warrington or Nick Ball against Maurizio Lara, which would be a bloodbath. We've got so many fights to make, so many fights. I said earlier, you know, Nathaniel Collins against Hopey Price, these are probably smaller fights for that show, but Liam Davis against Shabazz Massoud, there are just brilliant 50-50 fights to make. Dubois against, you know, one of our heavyweights. Joe Joyce they've got. Maybe we sign another heavyweight. I don't know. But it's going to be an unbelievable amount of fun.
In terms of the 5v5, it will obviously be the main card. Will the undercard portion also be the same?
No, I think that 5v5 is enough for the show. But the undercard portion, if you like, myself and George are talking about potentially spilling that into the UK. Because some of the fights that I mentioned there, we can only make 5. And they're going to want 5 high-profile fights. So a lot of those smaller fights, if you like, maybe British title fights, Commonwealth title fights, we can do another show in the UK. Those fights are pure 50-50. So, yeah, it's going to be brilliant.
Well, Eddie, I will wrap it up there. We'll catch up again this week. And thank you very much for your time, Eddie. Appreciate it.
Wall Street Memes Casino
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.